One, hey, two, hey, one, hey, two, hey, three, hey, four, hey, ho, hey, ho. Everybody get up. Ho, hey, ho. Everybody get up.
Hey! Welcome to the DaCosta family. Well, welcome and thank you for sliding through.
And on that note,
We got a singer up in the house today. Yeah.
How you guys doing, DaCosta family? Thank you so much for coming in and chopping it up with us today.
Absolutely. I'm Rav'n, an actor with passion.
LaDios Muhammad, actor with purpose.
Yeah. So today we're doing another movie review. We went and saw the new movie, Candyman.
Candyman!
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
But before we get started, check out Rav'n's YouTube channel. She's got this new little podcast she's doing called
Rav'n Reads. So if you submit an email that you do not want to process yourself, send it to me and I will read it in one of my many myriad of voices and see what kind of comedic style I can lend. So, yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, I was checking it out. I was like, I looked at the whole thing. I was like, dude, that is so cool. That is like so original. So send in your emails to Rav'n so that she can read it in her best character voice.
Yes,
All
and my
right.
email is ravelove104@gmail.com. So I look forward to your submissions.
Dude.
Absolutely.
Dude. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Awesome. So we went to go see Candyman last night. We got
so fun.
candy
And razors.
So
So
look what
scary.
Mr. King did for. No, see, this is the original,
Yes.
and then I photocopied
To
it.
be with a hook.
So this is the original. This is how talented Mr. King is.
He is very talented.
Yes, he
Good
is.
job, Mr.
Yeah,
King.
he did that all night just so we can do
amazing.
our show. I was like, draw me some bees. He said, do you want killer bees or honey bees? And I was like, killer bees. He
Girl,
said,
you
want
got
a-
one of them good men.
You know.
Girl.
And I got some candy. You ready to say Candyman 5 times?
No.
Nope.
Never.
Let's do it.
Mm-mm.
Candyman.
No.
Candyman.
Shut up.
Candyman.
Quit it.
Candyman.
Stop it.
Okay.
She gonna die. She gonna die, not me. I'm going to
That
bed.
razor blade. Anyway, let's get started.
Yes, let's start with our cast of characters. So to start out is the director, Nia DaCosta.
Nia DaCosta is the director, and who is the producer?
Tell him.
Oh, you sure you want me to tell him?
I do.
Okay. Producer and screenwriter is Jordan Peele.
You know you want to see anything Jordan Peele does. You know you do.
He makes me want to see horror.
Damn straight.
He makes me want to see horror.
Daniel Robatelli, I believe I'm saying it right, would play Tony Todd. I'm sorry, was played by Tony Todd.
Yes. And then, okay. So I'm gonna, if I mess up your name, I'm terribly sorry, but this is what I think it's supposed to sound like. Yahya Abdul-Mateen. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is Anthony McCoy, so he's the main character.
Mm-hmm. And then we had Tiana Paris, who played Brianna Cartwright.
And we have Coleman Domingo, who plays William Burke.
And we have Kathy Kramer, who played Helen Lyle.
Yes. And we have Nathan Stewart Jarrett, who plays Tony Cartwright. Troy Cartwright. Yep.
And then Vanessa Williams, who you'd remember from New Jack City, plays Anne-Marie McCoy.
Yes, and not Vanessa L. Williams, which was the former Miss America. And then we have Genesis Denise Hale. I knew that was her from The Shy. She plays Papa's girlfriend in The Shy. And in this movie, she plays Sabrina. So, let's get this party started. This is the fourth Candyman.
But I'd say it's individual of these other franchises, right? Because there was a 1, 2, and 3 back in the 90s. I didn't watch 2 and 3.
I didn't watch any.
Okay, I watched the original Candyman, which was very well done. Super creepy, super scary and gory. This one was good in terms of not being too much gore, don't you think? I felt like this one went more into the lore, the folklore of the Candyman. So that I thought was cool.
I love Jordan Peele. He has like the signature of a message in all of his movies. So when we got done, because we were both worried we were going to have nightmares, and she was like, you can call me at 2:30 in the morning. I was like, I will. But after we got done, she verbalized it, and I was like, I can see this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like when I saw Get Out. I think I've seen Get Out like 3 or 4 times. I could totally see this again.
Absolutely.
You always miss something, but it was really good.
There were only like 3 scenes that I had to watch like this.
Yeah, she goes, I just said, are you okay? Are you okay? She was like, It was pretty gory, but it wasn't scary. But I did like the backstory of this movie. I really enjoyed it. It starts off with Daniel, Anthony McCoy.
Well, and actually, it starts off in the projects of
Cabrini
Green in
You're right.
1977.
Yes, where it all takes place.
Yes. And at that point, was his name Sherman Shepherd? I believe it was Sherman Shepherd, who was just this kind of old deranged guy that had a hook and liked to give out candy in the neighborhood. Well, it turns out that somebody starts giving away candy with razor blades in them, and because he's the candy man, the cops think he's the primary suspect. So he's on the run, and he's living in the walls of the projects. And at one point, Sam, or the little boy,
who plays that's Nathan Stewart, right?
Yes.
No.
I can't remember his
It's
name.
Coleman Domingo, who plays William Burke.
Yes, William Burke.
He's a little boy.
Yeah, he's a little boy at this time, and he sees Candyman come through the wall, and he screams, and the cops come in, and it turns out that the cops beat him to death. And then a couple of weeks later,
they're still getting candy with razor blades in them.
Yes, so that wrongful death is what kind of creates this malevolent soul that is now being summoned when you say Candyman 5 times.
Yeah. And then here's the thing about Jordan Peele. That is like his turning point. That he does subtle, subliminal messages about racism and discrimination.
Yes.
He does that in all his movies.
So good. So they had this wonderful way of using puppetry to show a lot of the really intense scenes and scenes from the past that
creative.
I just loved. That
it was great.
It was
great. I mean, the walls and the artistic, how they did all of the paintings and everything. I was like really into the paintings and how they got gorier and gorier over time.
Yeah.
And so.
Because we fast forward, right?
Yeah.
So we fast forward, and now we have Anthony McCoy,
his girlfriend.
Yeah, Brianna Cartwright, and they have just moved to Cabrini Green, which is now a gentrified neighborhood, and they have this beautiful high rise that they're living in, and her brother comes in, who was hilarious. We should have gotten his name.
Oh, he's on there.
Oh, he is. Which one was he?
He is Troy Cartwright, whose name
Troy.
Nathan Stewart
Garrett.
Yes. Troy Cartwright.
Yes, so Troy, he's hilarious. He comes in with his new boyfriend, and he's kind of the comic relief of a lot of the scenes. And he starts telling them this story of Helen Lyle, who basically was doing research on the Candyman and went insane and supposedly stole a baby and tried to sacrifice it and all of these other things.
To the Candyman.
Yes, so this really intrigues our main character, Anthony McCoy.
Yes.
And to the point that he now has artistic inspiration, which he hasn't had for 2 years. He hasn't really painted anything for 2 years. And now all of a sudden he's like, whoa, and I got to go and do this research, and gets stung by a bee while he's taking pictures.
Yes.
And all of a sudden that it starts festering, kind of the bee sting, right?
Which was really kind of weird because it starts to get infected, the whole process.
And really quickly.
Movie. Yes, and it's like, are you going to get that checked out?
That was the only plot hole that I didn't love. It's why are you getting this checked out?
But then, okay, if we talk about men in general, particularly black men, they don't like to go to the doctors for nothing. So I guess Jordan Peele, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he wasn't going to go to the doctors for being sick, but he didn't put nothing on it. And it just kept, it was nasty.
It was nasty.
It was really nasty.
Gross.
Yeah, he started pulling shit up out of there, like razor blades and stuff.
I covered my eyes. But
Did you really? Did it see him?
Yeah, I didn't see that. I was like, Show me that.
Yeah, Jordan, you hit the nail on there because I bet you if you asked Jordan Peele why he didn't go to the doctor, he's like, black men don't want to go to the doctors for nothing.
True.
So,
True.
All right, you got that.
So he has his inspiration, and we see in some of his previous paintings that they're kind of like, black chest with nooses on them and hands, captivity, that kind of thing. So his new inspiration is basically kind of really, I don't know, it was kind of a gory take on the Candyman being beaten by the cops. So it's like a black face and all these white hands beating it up. And he does an exhibit where basically the paintings are behind the wall and there's just a mirror.
Yes.
And he gives the explanation of the Candyman, and the name of the exhibit is Say His Name.
Yeah.
And it says Say His Name 5 times.
Yes.
So in some ways he's encouraging people to summon the Candyman, but he doesn't know why.
He has no idea why. He's actually at this point, because he's been stung by the bee, he is actually starting to be evolving into
the Candyman. Yeah.
But did you catch that?
A little bit, but I caught that from the previews.
Okay.
I kind of knew that Anthony McCoy would be the new Candyman.
See, I never watched the previews.
But I was really intrigued to see how they did that.
Yeah.
But they did it so well. I'm telling you guys, you got to see this movie.
It was.
It really was.
Yeah, and then, so they're having an art display. His girlfriend is doing this great art display, and she's presenting it. And I guess this art critic comes up, and she kind of really, bashes his art. And kinda,
terribly.
Patronizes him, like, this is your typical stuff. You didn't do anything, intriguing.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck you.
Yeah, he gets kind of belligerent and drunk, which, and we should give some background on the girlfriend. The girlfriend is this very classy, high-end art curator.
Yep.
And basically we find out through a few accusations of other people that she's kind of supporting this artist. And of course the family's kind of like, what is he, a deadbeat?
Yes.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we even get that from the art community, right? So, we have that scene with the art critic kind of ripping him to shred. And then the curator, her friend, we go back to the art gallery after everyone's left.
I guess he owns the art gallery.
Yeah, he owns the gallery.
Like, I did you a favor.
Oh, and he's pissed off. I don't get a sorry.
Yeah.
I don't get nothing. And obviously he's been trying to hit on this girl, and she latches him to her belt loop and says, you know what, let's just do it.
Right.
And then she says, let's summon the Candyman.
Right.
So she says his name 5 times.
So the girl, I think she was an intern, just to clarify. She was an intern working with him.
Yeah.
It seems like he sleeps with all his interns because McCoy did mention something about that. He made a jab at him about him sleeping with his interns, for fame or whatever. But she latches that belt and she's like, let's do it in the art gallery, baby. Let's say Candyman. Go ahead. Candyman. Say it.
I ain't dying.
Candyman.
I ain't dying. You can die, girl.
And the Candyman comes out. Okay, you say it like 5 times.
Yeah, 5 times.
So isn't that comparable to La Llorona?
Well, La Llorona is a little bit different, but definitely Bloody Mary.
Yeah, and Bloody Mary
is definitely.
La Llorona, they said that.
It depends on the lore. I don't want to go too far into that, but she's basically a ghost that hunts rivers.
Okay.
And if you're a kid out at night on the river, she might drown you. That's the difference between La Llorona.
That's true. And then Bloody Mary, I thought it was like
Bloody
10
Mary
times.
is
You had to
definitely.
say it 10 times or something. Yeah.
But there were a couple of those when we were growing up. Right?
Yeah.
Bloody Mary and and I didn't know about Candyman until the 90s, of course.
I think Candyman is just definitely new.
Yeah.
It was definitely creative. So anyhow, so she says Candyman 5 times, and he comes out of the mirror of the display.
Yeah, but it's cool because when the Candyman appears at this point, he's pretty much an invisible figure.
Yeah.
And it's definitely like a spirit that's doing the killings. You can't see the body, you just see the blood. And you don't see the, all of a sudden the throat slit and all of, but then if you catch mirror glimpse,
Yes.
you'll see him in the reflection.
There you
so
go.
that was really well done and really cool. And the special effects, oh my God.
They were amazing, the way the bodies were up. And
Oh, yeah. And then even just some of the cinematography,
Yes.
the way that they'd shoot the buildings from this,
Oh,
crazy
gorgeous.
vantage point. Oh,
Yes.
it was really, really beautifully
And
done.
obviously, like we said, it was filmed in Chicago. I mean,
Yeah.
there were some beautiful buildings. Like, they captured.
You knew you were in Chicago.
Yeah,
You
especially
felt
when you were
Chicago.
supposed to be in the project.
Especially.
That was prior to gentrification. I mean, they did a great comparison of black and white. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the poor. Oh, this is gentrification. Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Such a great job.
Yes.
So after that killing, after that murder, we cut to Anthony McCoy and his girlfriend, and I think Troy's there too, and they're talking about the killing on the news.
Mm-hmm.
And Anthony McCoy gets very happy, and he's like, "They said my exhibit. They said say my name."
Yeah.
And he's kind of smirking and happy,
Yeah.
and everybody else is looking at him like, "This was a horrific frigging crime.
And
Why
you're
are
thinking
you?"
about your exhibit?
Yeah,
right
you're
now.
thinking. Yeah, you're kind of being selfish. So
Yeah.
so that was.
And why not? He's an artist. Good Lord.
You always want your work to be recognized, don't you?
Hey. All news is good news.
Right.
All publicity is good publicity.
Right? So I think this is when he starts going more deep into his research and
Yes.
starts going to the projects, and that's when he runs into William Burke,
Yeah.
who is a really substantial character in this movie. You don't think he's going to be at the beginning,
Yeah.
but boy, does it build, and
You don't
he
make
ends
the
up being
connection.
so.
I didn't make the connection
Not
at
till the
work
end.
until the end.
Not
that
till
he was
the end.
little boy.
That's like.
Taking the laundry to the laundromat.
And now he owns a laundromat.
Well, we're moving on now.
And he was the one who seen the Candyman and seen him get beaten.
Yeah, there's a lot that they tie together at the end.
One thing I did like what Jordan Peele did about that brutality is that he did not show that.
Yeah,
He did not display. He gave you the subliminal that he's seen all, and it was all white police officers running in.
and
But
both times,
both times, past and present, but
Yes.
he never showed the actual beating, except for in the picture.
Yeah,
When it was like in the portrait that was
Yeah.
on.
and
I appreciate that. 'Cause
Yeah.
we've had enough of that on TV.
I agree. And William Burke ends up being this curator of knowledge, if you will, right? He knows about the Candyman, and he ends up informing, and I might be jumping forward a little bit, but he ends up informing Anthony McCoy of the fact that there's been many Candymen, and as a matter of fact, it's almost always when a crime of injustice has been done that it creates these malevolent souls, these evil souls, if you will, that can't rest and need vengeance. And he traces it all the way back to 1890.
Which was how they started.
Yes,
Where the
and
guy was drawing portraits.
He was a painter.
And
Yep.
he was black.
Yep.
And he was very, very incredibly artistic.
Yep, everybody
And
loved his
so
paintings.
they petitioned him to make paintings, and he painted some wealthy white man's daughter. Was it his daughter?
His daughter.
His daughter's
And
portrait.
they fell in love.
They fell in love, and of course, that was forbidden in the 1800s.
Yep, she got pregnant.
Yeah. And so what I didn't capture was, did he allude that she said she was raped and got pregnant? Or
I don't think so. I
or
don't
did
think
she
so.
allude?
You didn't
Did
have
she say
to.
I was in love? Because they did something on there. Because he says, and then when the guy was he was facilitating in the back, he goes, and then what happened after he found out and she told her daddy.
Yeah,
But
but I didn't feel like it was.
like-
I felt like it was more like, "Daddy, I'm pregnant" or whatever. Like, and it might not have even been until the baby was born, because that happened a lot of times. You could kind of
And
get
then
away
the baby
with it.
come out
And the baby
looking
come
brown,
out,
you
and
like-
it's like, oh well, we got someone to fry now.
Yeah.
I
I got it. I think he alluded to she.
maybe she cried rape. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe,
like she,
maybe.
Mm.
Usually, but was
She did an imitation.
one of my favorite parts of this story is one of the quotes that I loved was he said, they love what we make, but they never love us. in terms of loving our artistry. Black people, of course, loving our artistry, loving what we bring to the table, loving our art, whatever we bring to the table, but never loving the actual people. Going into that, even after slavery, you still have this inferiority shit that you try to put on us, that
we can use your services until we don't need you anymore.
Yes, but you're still inferior. You're still not part of the thing. You ain't part of America. That kind of thing.
You're 3/5 of a man. That's why I love Jordan Peele, because he puts that stuff in there for you. Entertainment. See, this is what I'm talking about, like purposeful entertainment.
That's what art is.
Like stuff to make you think, but yet it's still entertaining. You know what I'm saying? It was worth for $15.
Oh shit! I would pay more. And so while they kill this black man, the painter, way back when in the 1890s, they end up basically putting honey on him and dismantling the body, and that's where the bees come from. Because if you've seen any of the Candyman movies, there's always a whole lot of bees that are around him and that kind of thing. So that's where it came from, was the original Candyman in the 1890s, because they put all this honey on him and let the bees sting him and all these other things.
Ripped off his
arm
and stuck a hook in there.
Yeah.
And then they burned him.
Yes, and then they burned him. So
I don't understand that.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
they couldn't just kill him. They had to torture.
Well, why they have to castrate every man that they hung. Anyways, at the end of the day, they be torturing people. I'm just saying, if you know your history,
they ain't
treating nobody nice. They ain't treating nobody nice.
But in my mind,
or humane.
I can't.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue on.
So finally, we get to the point where his arm is really grotesque. He is painting really dark pictures, right? All of these different, almost like full-length canvases of grotesque faces.
And this is where you see his hands start to morphose.
Yeah.
And it starts to get gross and... but it's not just his arm. His hand going his arm up into his neck and his
skin is starting to get really porous.
Why you didn't go to the doctor? So then I guess he finally decides to go to the daggone doctors.
Yes.
And this is where he found out. I guess the nurse was like, "Welcome back, Mr. McCoy." She was like, "What do you mean, welcome back?" She goes, "Well, you were born here." He was like, "I wasn't born here. I was on. Was it north side?
South side. South side.
Oh, he was born on the south. No, north side.
No, south side. South side Chicago. That's where all the black people are.
Oh, yeah, south side. He was like, I was born on the north. Well, he was saying he was born on the north side.
No, south side. He thought he was born in the south side, but it turns out he was born in Cabrini Greens.
Cabrini Greens is in the south side.
I don't know, but that's...
No, Cabrini Greens...
we're not going to argue about it.
Well, no, it's in the south side, because she was like, he goes, no, I was born on the north side. And she goes, no, you were born here. And and then so he was
I don't know enough about Chicago to say all that.
No, well, you're right. The South Side is the black part.
Yeah, and that's where the mom said, "Don't you know that's where we grew up, and that's where I raised you, and all of that." And he was like, "But why was I born at Cabrini Greens?" And then she's like, "Oh, well." This is what happened. You were abducted, blah, 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 and all of that other stuff. And I just don't know about Chicago to say whether or not. But, yeah.
I just got back. Someone told me the difference.
So, well, yeah.
But, anyway, whatever. The point is, one or the other, he thought he was born here, and he found out he was born over there.
Yes. So he confronts his mother, and that's when he finds out that, yes, he was actually the sacrificial lamb for the Candyman.
But they made it seem like her name was, Helen Lyle. They made it seem like Helen Lyle was going to sacrifice him. But she was trying to actually save him.
Yeah, she saved him.
And then she sacrificed herself, which was interesting.
Yeah.
I would have liked to know a little bit more about her backstory.
Yeah, or maybe she got thrown into the fire. Mm-hmm. Maybe it wasn't that she just ran into the fire with the baby.
I would have
She actually, the Candyman, when she got the baby from the Candyman, he threw her ass in the fire.
Maybe. I would have liked to had a little bit more of her backstory, but it still worked. It still worked.
Yes.
But and then she's like, never. We promised we'd never say that name. Never say that name.
Someone broke the bat.
Somebody
broke
came
the
out.
bat. Yep, she said somebody broke the bat. And then we find out that let's see, that William Burke had a whole lot to play in this. We find out that William Burke's little sister, who's played by Genesis Denise Hale,
Yes.
she locked herself in the bathroom, and he kept saying, "Can I come in? Let me in." And she's like, "Go play with your puppets." And you hear them saying Candyman's name 5 times, and then when he opens the door, his sister and her friends are dead. So we find out that William Burke is kind of on a revenge thing, maybe kind of, or he needs proof. He needs proof of the Candyman's existence, and he knows Anthony McCoy is that little baby. And he knew that little baby would show up at some point because he was part of this whole lore, and the Candyman had eyes on him, and the Candyman had a destiny for him. So that was interesting.
Right. Yeah, I did. Now that I still didn't understand why he needed to call the Candyman when he could have did it when he was a little boy. If he really needed proof, I didn't understand what that connection. I guess I got a little bit disconnected from
I
there.
did too, because it went very dark.
Yeah, it's like why
basically-
is he trying to get him to reinvent himself? But he did mention something that the Candyman only comes around when there's justice that needs to be served.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he did say when there's imbalances and justice needs to be served in this particular Candyman.
Yeah.
Because you remember we're getting there. I don't want to jump too far.
Sure.
But if you look at it, they beat the Candyman and killed him, without proof. Okay. And so they were talking about how they gentrified the community, okay? And they brought all these young yuppies in there and says, "Oh, don't worry, it's low rent now. You can afford it now, but we'll build it up and put a Whole Foods in your neighborhood."
Yeah.
No, they did that in 5 Points. We finally got it natural
Girl.
grocers, finally. But it had to be a lot of young people to come up here that don't look like us because we don't eat healthy foods.
No. You
no.
just need a liquor store.
No, we just need a liquor store. Anyway. Anyhow, but he did mention that again about the Candyman comes around when there needs to be a balances of justice. And it played out at the end. It played out at the end because, of course, his girlfriend comes to save him. How did she find him again?
Let's go back a little bit, because I was talking about the big pictures, and at that point, the girlfriend comes in, and she's like, quit it.
He's not
Quit
real.
doing this. Yeah, this isn't real. I'm real. And she almost starts to summon the Candyman.
Yeah.
At one point, he just throws something at the mirror and throws another mirror down, and she freaks out, and she runs away.
And goes to her brother's.
And that's when he wakes up, and there's like glass in his hands, and that's when he decides to go to the hospital, right?
Which he finds out.
And at the same time, her story, we get to see that her dad was an artist, and he committed suicide in front of her. So she has some trauma.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if that was really well tied together, because
that didn't make any, unless they connect them with trauma bonds.
I think it was trauma bonds,
Yeah.
and maybe even that's why she was in love with Anthony McCoy, like this tortured artist.
Yes.
Because her dad was a
There you
tortured
go.
artist.
She connected it.
So,
She connected it. Thank
so
you.
yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, yeah. My brain won't function unless I have a connection.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I think that might have been it. Like, that trauma bond,
Yeah.
and that might have been why she was really in love with Anthony McCoy and saw so much in him. So, she's moving out. She's getting out of the house. She's packing her things to leave. And somehow, when she's doing she's calling, she's trying to find him, and then she gets a pen, and it's from Burke's laundromat.
Yep, and
she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm going to go and find out about this Burke guy, because this is the
That's
guy
all
that's
he's
been
been
filling
talking about.
my husband's head with all this nonsense." So
Yeah.
she goes to see him
Yep.
and ends up getting kidnapped by William Burke and taken to the old church where
he was born.
Yeah. So that's where.
That was that. Yeah, thank you for bringing that through. That's
Sure,
why
sure.
I'm glad you have the good memory. So she gets there, and he, I guess somehow he, gets her in hand, ties her up. What did he hit her over the head or something?
I think so,
Yeah,
and
hits
had
her
her
over the
duct
head.
taped.
Duct tape, which was really rather quick. But the Candyman now, McCoy is actually starting to physically turn in and embody the full Candyman. But he's still a little cognizant that he recognizes his
somewhat. I mean, our first scene, he's like comatose, and his eye is turning blue, and his skin is all porous on the side where he has the infection. I should say this side, and we see Burke cut his arm off and put the hook in, and then gives him the coat. And, you know, all of that. And at that, while he's doing this whole kind of ritualized thing with the hook and Candyman, Brianna has that pen still, and she manages to get her hands loose. Yeah. And I love what they did with Brianna's character. There's one time when she sees a deep, dark basement, and she opens the door and says, nope, and shuts it, you know, and then she gets herself out of her handcuff situation. So thank you for paying homage to smart black women. Thank you. So anyway, thank you for the recall.
I appreciate that because they always making her look. We ain't stupid. You see her daughter, and she was like, we ain't going down there. I ain't falling down running.
Thank you. That was one of the best. So yeah, so I love that. She gets free, and then Candyman actually kind of turns on Burke instead of going after Brianna. Yeah. And then Burke starts running after her. Yes. And she escapes, goes into one of the project houses, which both of us were like, that's not smart.
Yeah. But I think the initiative of what he was trying to do is if she was running, it was so open that he would see her. So she figured, I'll just lure him. I don't think she was luring him in, was she?
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. That's a good concept.
Yeah.
I'll just go here and maybe. But he just went right to where she got, okay. Jordan Peele, you did that dumb shit. And I wouldn't have personally been hiding, and I would have ran. I would have been out of them damn projects. Yeah.
And before she gets to the church and you see her wake up, you hear William Burke calling the cops. And saying, we know where this is sailing at, or we know somebody's attacking people, and blah, 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 and kind of frames up the cops to show up during this pivotal scene. So when she runs into the projects, all of a sudden we see the bright lights of the police, and they all roll up, and that's when we hear a bunch of gunfire, and all of these things happen, and she ends up getting put in handcuffs and getting put in the back of the car.
Roll back a little bit. Yeah, because remember when he came down there and followed her down whatever that dark place, that dungeon or whatever. What happened was she took that pen and she stabbed him to death. She stabbed him to death. So as she was stabbing him to death,
that's right.
The police come in and there's a dead body. So she's and then she's holding on to McCoy.
That's right.
Because she's trying to save him to make sure, like, hey, don't leave me or what. I don't know. I don't remember that part. But anyway, the whole part she's trying to like hang on. Because she's already killed. So now they're trying to say, hey, let's frame these people, McCoy and Burke.
Sure.
And say that they are going around doing these murders or whatever.
And
they did all these murders that were all on TV.
Yes.
Or we can say you were an accomplice.
Right.
And then you will go to jail and prison forever.
Exactly.
And that was this is where Jordan Peele was brilliant in, again, the injustices. Like, you are already badgering the witness, manipulating the person, and this made me think of the Central Park 5. Like, So she was like, okay, can I just look at myself in the mirror?
And
she says, Candyman, say it.
Summons him.
Candyman.
I ain't saying Candyman.
You say it. Come on, Candyman. Okay, here we go.
Anyway, so,
You were supposed to say Candyman.
I ain't saying it.
She really won't say it.
Anyways, that guy. So that guy ends up being summoned, and we see him kind of wreak havoc on all of the police outside, and then the doors lock, and finally he gets to the police officer inside, and Brianna is left, she's able to get out of the car, and when she's standing there, Yeah, she's still handcuffed, but when she's standing there, we see this huge swarm of bees surrounding Anthony McCoy, and basically when they fade away, it's no longer Anthony McCoy, it's Daniel Rebatelli, who was the original Candyman that we know and love from 1992 and the other sequels. So that was pretty much the wrap-up, as he became Candyman.
And it was good, and it was lovely. It was just lovely, and I loved it, and I enjoyed this, and the bees were so good.
The hooks.
Yeah, the hooks, they were awesome.
The candy with razors.
The candy with razors. The gore. The artistic, beautiful, whoever did all those paintings, they hit the nail. And the puppetry.
The puppetry was amazing. The puppetry was
was
absolutely amazing. I hate horror as a genre. I can criticize it 5 ways from Sunday, but when it's done well, it can be so enjoyable. I mean, one of the things that I criticize with horror is that usually the acting isn't there. That wasn't the case with this. The acting was there.
Superb.
I mean, superb.
Yes.
If I gave this a rating, A plus B's. Yep, I'm getting an A+.
You know what? We on the same playing field. A plus.
So good.
Yes, and at the end,
Hill.
he has a little verbiage about this is in dedication. I don't quote me exactly, but it was something to in lieu of to deal with the injustices of the social injustices of the community.
Yes.
He had some type of verbiage at the end.
There was.
Yeah, and that's what I loved about this movie, Jordan Peele.
Yeah.
And
he had a link to a foundation that you could support to help fight racial justice and support.
And Nia DaCosta, this is the first time I've heard your name, and so if I haven't heard you before, I'm sorry, but great directing.
And I was saying,
Black female director.
Yes, and she had a part in the screenplay, and so I think that really lends when you're writing and you get to, direct. That's a beautiful thing because, boy, it was just seamless. So kudos to the team. They did a great job. This is probably my favorite movie so far of 2021.
Yep.
I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. So go see the movie.
Go see it. It might not be in theaters anymore, but when this thing's streaming, you best get yourself in a chair with your popcorn and whatever streaming show it's on, pay the subscription. You got to watch this.
That's
so
what
good.
I'm saying.
It's so good.
In the meantime, in between time, remember, you don't have to be asleep to dream, so get up and get out and do something for yourself.
That's
I'm
right.
LaDios Muhammad, an actor with purpose.
And I'm Rav'n, an actor with passion.
And we are actors
From the dark side.